What's good, everybody? So, it is the 7th of August. It is the eve of Q2 Palantir earnings, and I decided to just kick it in the sauna. As you can tell, I'm sweating bullets right now. I don't have central AC in my house. I mean, it's the type where you gotta put an AC on your window. But every year I keep telling myself I could do it, I can survive without it. And yeah, usually it's pretty good all summer, and then at the end, it's always pretty nasty like now. But I have my iced tea, and I just want to kick it. I'm not trying to get into any earnings details, nothing like that. I just want to go through the news. If you want to see what's happening right now in the world or the ridiculous things that I'm seeing, then feel free to stay on and go through it with me. But if you're just laser focused on Palantir type of content, this is not going to be that in this video. So feel free to tune in whenever I get into that. So on today's episode of Chat with Jad, I just decided to run through CNBC, see what's going on in the business world. And something really caught my eye. And the title, it's a trending article, and the title is, I work just 5 hours a week. This 39-year-old makes 160K a month in passive income. A look at his typical day. And to be honest, as someone who's slaved away for employers, this has a lot of, this grabbed my attention right away, like it did to many others. And I'm gonna read it for the first time with you. So let's take a look and see what's up. So let me turn this off right here. There we go. All right. So I work 5 hours a week. This 39-year-old makes 160 a month in passive income. A look at his typical day. Then you'll see his face, his I make 160K a month face. Looks very happy. So let's see what's up. From food stamps to 1.6 million. So, I would not be surprised if there's some kind of product placement for this guy in this article, because these type of things it's just a vicious cycle. So let's get into it. I was never the entrepreneurial type, but after losing my job as an audio engineer, I had to get creative. 13 years later, at age 39, I built 2 online businesses that earned me a combined 160 a month. I also recently published a book, How to Get Paid for What You Know. Yep, I knew it. There it is. Amazon link right there. The first business I started was a recording revolution, a music and education blogs that sells music production courses. The second, which I started in 2018, teaches people how to make money off their passions like I did. It's the most lucrative business thanks to online course. Oh, link to his online course and coaching program sales as well as affiliate commissions. No shit. Okay, so this is just your typical guy, the guy who goes viral, who says, oh, I'm a stock market guru, buy my courses and you'll know how to make a lot of money. Or buy my real estate courses and you'll know how to make a lot of money. Buy my this and that and you'll make a lot of money. So it works because clearly people are buying. And he's pulling in a lot of money. So, clearly there's a lot of people that want to make a lot of money. So around 2,800 people use my products, and my goal is to help more entrepreneurs grow their online businesses while working fewer hours. My top priority is spending time with family and being able to give back. So I set up work and personal life to be able to focus on these key values. This is what my typical day looks like. Let's see. Mornings start slow and easy. I usually wake up at 5 a.m. before the kids because I always want an hour to myself, don't we all? I'll start with coffee and my Bible. Wow, that's nice. After reading some reading, praying, and journaling, I'll make my breakfast with my wife and wake the kids. What a gentleman. We'll spend 20 to 30 minutes eating together in the kitchen before I drop them off at school. Then I head back to my gym, head back home, do gym if I'm in the mood, of course. only when he's in the mood. I work just 5 hours a week, Mondays and Wednesdays. On Mondays, I plan to create YouTube videos and podcast episodes. Potential customers usually find me through this free online content. If they like it, they can sign up for my newsletter and get emails about free resources. I make a chunk of passive income from these courses. I've designed my business system to automatically send emails, so the bulk of my work is just to maintain a steady flow of new and free content. Recording videos and podcasts take about 2 hours. I also have someone who edits and uploads the content. My morning hour is dedicated to answering emails or giving advice in my six-figure coaching community. On Wednesdays, I spend time on community interaction, then host a 90-minute live call with my advanced business coaching students. Oh, he has advanced business coaching students. That's dope. Once a month, I film an inclusive training for members of my paid community, which adds about 2 hours extra work. I've never been a fan of the hustle culture. I don't believe it's healthy or wise. That I can agree. If you find a way to build systems into your business so that mostly runs on its own, you don't need to waste time doing constant upkeep. After all, what's the point of being your own boss if you're working all the time? Nice. Family time is my number one priority. Oh, look at him riding in this cool car. He has a Lexus. Good choice. I can fuck with the guy who drives a Lexus. Can't go wrong with the Japanese. We love going out on walks, blah, blah, blah. Radical generosity, a core value. Oh, that's cute. Okay. So this guy, oh my God, another article. I quit my 35K job to grow my side hustle. Now it brings 141 million a year. Wow. That's pretty dope. So look, another person. This 30-year-old earned 97,000 in passive income from Amazon last year. How she got started. This 41-year-old left the US for Bangkok and now lives a luxurious lifestyle on 8,000 a month. 1,000's still a lot of money. I mean, it depends, I guess. This mom makes $760 a year in passive income and lives on a sailboat. I work just 10 hours a week. Yo, what is up? Okay, honestly, what is up with all the articles that say I make X amount a month and I only work 2 hours a week? Like, I don't get it. I don't get those type of posts. Like, I guess it works because it's a lot of clickbait. It gets a lot of people into it. And then it's a vicious cycle, right? It's like a pyramid scheme. Like, if you tell everybody, yo, I can make 500K a month and I only work 3 hours a week, everyone's going to be interested. I'm like, tell me how. And then suddenly you get that blitz. And then the book or the content or whatever you're selling, it's going to be, oh, well, you know, sell courses, do this or that, or let me show you how to set up your business. And then they end up doing the same thing. So I feel like it's a pyramid scheme. I don't want to say it is, because I'm sure there's people who are doing drop shipping. We're doing all kinds of things, but oh man, like this guy, he's putting out content and he's making 160K a month. Like that means he must have very expensive people who pay for his classes, very expensive courses that, you know, he has paying customers for, or he has a lot of volume. And I mean, believe it or not, like I've listened to like real estate podcasts where people said like, yeah, you know, before getting into real estate, I dropped about 80,000 in real estate courses to make sure I really learn the ins and outs. And all you need is like 10 idiots like that to drop 80K, and then you're going to be publishing your article and getting free marketing by saying, yeah, you know, I make 800K a month and I only wrote a book one time, and now let me show you how I do it. And it's just a vicious cycle. So I don't really fuck with these type of things, but people do. I don't know why. Maybe because I've always went through like formal training all the time. So when you go through formal training or formal schooling, you think all these people selling books on the sides, they're just full of shit. And you know, they might have made money quick. Anybody could make money quick, but Is it really like a value added? Like anyone can start a business. Like I can start a business. I can do whatever I want. I can do a drop shipping. I can start a little restaurant. I can start a little bar, whatever. But it's just I don't do it. I don't know. I don't get to it. But speaking of that, there were a few businesses that I always wanted to do, but I just never got to it because I was always so busy at work, and it's just like you need to set time aside. And one of them would be like a small pop-up restaurant shop, like a pop-up shop that's just like a hole in the wall. You walk in, you order your food, and you get out. It's like quick fast food, in and out. And it's food that we usually eat, like fast food from my culture. It's pretty much something you just chop up. You throw a bunch of, like, you chop up like a pita, I guess pita, or like we call it a roti, but you could, like, it's just thick dough. You chop it up, you throw eggs, you throw onions, you throw spices, you throw meats. It could be vegan, meat, vegetarian, whatever the hell you want it to be. And you could pretty much do it in like 5 minutes if you have all the ingredients already set up. So I always wanted to do like a pop-up shop like that, somewhere ideally like near a school, near a club, and it would be a lot of traffic. Your business would be mainly based on volume and not like charging premium prices for a wine and dine experience. But I never got to it because I was just like, oh, not really cut out for that restaurant life. Like I feel like I was never really made for it, but I would invest in someone who would be willing to put in the time to do that. And the difference between like having a restaurant business versus these guys selling courses online is that courses online, your market is the world, right? You can sell to anyone, whereas a restaurant, your market is usually the neighborhood, the city, and that's it. And the amount of money you can make is really capped, but the time you're putting in is substantial. So with factors like that, I just said screw it. But recently now I am doing my own business, which is my own independent CPA consulting business, which is starting to pick up. I'm starting to get leads left and right. People are calling me, asking me questions like, oh, should I incorporate? Do you think it's a good idea? I want to buy a house in 2 years. I am making like $5,000 a week. I don't know what to do with the money. What should I do? And then I would say like, hey, slow down. I could talk to you about a lot of these things, but first, these are the fundamental basics. Like, do you plan on using all the money right away personally? And if yes, then maybe corporation structure is not good for you right now because you need to pay back your student loans or whatever it might be. So there's so many different things, and I enjoy doing that. I feel like I can make an impact on people's lives for the better. So I'm running with that right now. Let's see what's going on the rest of the CNBC world. So this is it's probably legit, probably semi-legit, probably varies a lot month to month, but I'm not gonna hate. This guy's pulling in 160 a month and gets zero the next rest of the year. He's fucking killing it. So good for him. So there's this article, and I'm just like, god damn, like, I find like the media has a big role to play in everything that happens because markets, it's usually sentiment driven and rarely fact driven. You see that all the time when stocks are ripping all of a sudden, but the media's pumping out some articles. They're like, oh yeah, the U.S. economy has yet to face its biggest recession challenge. Okay. There is no historical precedent to indicate that an economy in recession can produce 528,000 jobs a month, as the U.S. did in July. But that doesn't mean there isn't a recession ahead. But that doesn't mean there's a recession ahead, like that there isn't a recession ahead. And of course, like everybody knows, it's a cycle, right? Markets go up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, and ideally it's going up like this as the businesses get better and prosper, whatever. But there needs to be a recession. There always needs to be a cooling off period. It's just human nature. And you know, I'm sure some of the guys know what I'm talking about. So the Federal Reserve's rate tightening to address inflation poses a recession threat into 2023. Okay, we're not even done 2022, but people are forecasting recessions in 2023. That's great. You'd be hard pressed now to find a recession in the rearview mirror. What's down the road, though, is another story. But that doesn't mean there's a recession ahead, blah, blah, blah. The fact of the matter is, this gives the Fed additional room to continue to tighten, even if it raises the probability of pushing the economy into recession. It's not going to be an easy task to continue to tighten without negative repercussions. Indeed, following the robust job numbers, which included a 5.2% 12-month gain for average hourly earnings, traders accelerated their bets on a more aggressive Fed. As of Friday afternoon, markets were assigning about a 69% chance of central bank enacting its third straight 0.75 percentage point interest hike when it meets again in September. Okay. There's a long time left till September. So while President Joe Biden celebrated the big job numbers on Friday, a much more unpleasant data point could be on the way next week. The Consumer Price Index, the most widely followed inflation measure, comes out Wednesday and expected to show continued upward pressure even with a sharp drop in gasoline prices in July. That will complicate the central bank's balancing act. Oh man. Yeah. More recession signs. The 2-year Treasury note yield exceeded that of a 10-year note. Dude, it's just like, you know, it's like they're picking on anything and everything to build a case. This is certainly not my base case, but I think that we may start to hear some chatter of an intermeeting hike, but only if the next batch of inflation reports is hot. While economic output, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So obviously, inflation is a huge problem. Everybody's feeling it. I'm feeling it. You know, I drive a Honda Civic 2016, the touring model. It is a beauty. It's a great car. I love it. I bought it, you know, it was my first nice car that I bought when I was working, you know, when I got into my real job. And that car, I used to be able to pump 48 liters. Let me make this bigger. I used to be able to pump, the tank is 48 liters. I used to be able to pump in my Civic 48 liters. In total, it would cost me like $50-$60 Canadian for a tank. You know, when gas was like at $1, $10, $20 or whatever. It was chill. But now gas like has been like flirting around $2 or $1.80 or whatever, and now it's like close to $100. I can only imagine what people are feeling in fuel efficient cars or like fuel inefficient cars or like huge gas guzzlers. It must be so painful, and especially for people who have to drive to work. People who have to drive to work that's really far away, or people who have to use their cars regularly for work and it's not reimbursed. These guys are feeling it. Like I'm thinking of Uber drivers or like DoorDash drivers. Like these guys go from place to place. Sometimes they have to stick around, kick it, and just wait for food to be prepared, or they're just waiting for an order to come through. And nobody's paying them for that idle time, A. And B, the cost of gas is going up. And C, people are probably tipping less just in general because everything is expensive for everyone. So the food is already goddamn expensive when you're ordering from Uber Eats or DoorDash or whatever it might be, that people might not be able to tip as they used to in the past. And there's all kinds of service fees that are added on that it just makes it harder for people to be nice. So I could feel I could feel the pain that some people are going through because of the inflationary pressures on day-to-day things like cost of gas, cost of food, cost of like big purchases. I mean, like even cars now, cost of used cars have gone up significantly. If you had a shit box and your shit box broke down and you thought, oh yeah, you know, maybe I can buy a used Civic for like 8-10K, you're probably, that 8-10K Civic is probably now like 12 to 15K. It's a lot of money. So I really could feel the pain that people are going through, and that is something that you know, hopefully with interest rates being raised, then demand starts to taper off. Like people just start saving and stop spending, and then when they stop spending, then that means demand drops, and then the prices of things can start to like gradually cool. And I think that would take like about 12 to 16 months to really see the feel of it, to feel it. And yeah, I mean, goddamn, I hope the inflation starts cooling, because inflation, to fight inflation, the number one tool is to raise your mortgage rate. I mean, to raise like the central bank's rates. So if the central bank keeps raising their rates, then mortgage rates keep going up. And me, I'm on a variable mortgage, so my variable mortgage just keeps going up. Then eventually I'm going to be almost paying zero principal and just paying interest, which is ridiculous because of stupid issues like the price of fuel being high because we were sanctioning Russian oil because they're in war with Ukraine. And then that means the prices of oil is higher in general because there's less demand in the market, less supply circulating, so the prices are up. So it's kind of like annoying, to deal with all these things that are out of my control, but I'm dealing with it, like I'm paying for it. So, and I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way about the rent going up, the price of housing going up, and all that stuff. It's insane right now. Things really need to cool down. So I've read that apparently recently the Senate passed, like it just happened today, like live, the American Senate passed a sweeping climate, health, and tax package, putting the Democrats on cusp of historic win. Now, I don't know what exactly was passed and what the big thing is, but apparently there's a fight to fight against the high prices of drugs, and the tax setup is being the tax system is being revised. So let's see what's going on here. But yeah, it looks like the vote was super tight. So let me share that article right now. Give me a second. Let's go flip this out. All right. So here, the Senate Democrats narrowly passed a sweeping climate and economic package on Sunday, putting President Joe Biden and his party on the cusp of a big legislative victory 3 months before the midterm November elections. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I hate this idea of midterm elections because it's like everybody starts to pivot. Like I like it because it encourages democracy. People don't take their jobs for granted. They're always on edge. But then at the same time, it's like people are always postponing what they're supposed to be doing, or any big wins that they should be doing. They just postpone it because they're like, oh, let's wait till the midterms. So then it's on people's minds, and then we look better, and then we might get elected. Well, that's how I feel. So over here it says, after a marathon overnight Senate session, the 51-50 vote was strictly along party lines, with all Republicans voting no and all Democrats voting yes. This is ridiculous. I hate how divided the U.S. could be. After Vice President Kamala Harris cast a tie-breaking vote, Democrats stood and applauded. The legislation, dubbed the Inflation Reduction Act, now heads to the House, which plans to return from its summer recess on Friday, pass the legislation, and send it to Biden's desk for a signature. The 755-page bill. Okay, why do these bills have to be so huge? It makes no sense. God damn. For a $430 billion bill to combat climate change and extend healthcare coverage, paid for with savings on prescription drugs and taxes on corporations. It puts hundreds of billions of dollars towards deficit reduction. The bulk of the spending, more than $300 billion, are investments to tackle climate change and boost clean energy, including incentives for farmers and ranchers to reduce methane emissions. God damn, I am so happy to see this. I don't know where you stand on, being vegan, eating meat or not, or whatever, and I couldn't care. But the fact is, climate change is essentially a simple concept. The world is getting hot. It's gonna go down the drain when everything gets way too hot. Crops are gonna not survive. Then that means there's not enough food for animals. Then the animals die. Then there's not enough food for people. Then the people die, or the people migrate to other places where they have an abundance of natural resources, like Canada. And then it's gonna be a shit show all around. It's gonna be a shit show all around because you're gonna have essentially people who had great lives, good livelihoods, and they were happy, suddenly being uprooted because they can't survive, and then they're gonna try to go to places where those people are probably not even ready to accommodate them. You know, like imagine Canada having suddenly millions of people show up tomorrow. Canada will be messed up. It would be messed. And a lot of people say like the Syrian war that started, it was partially due to climate change because a lot of farmers and stuff, their crops were all just dying and they were getting zero support from the government. And then people started to lose their shit, and then they just started getting, you know, upset with the current government structure, you know. And there's a saying, it's slipping my mind who said it, but let me see. I think I heard on Billboard, but it said something like 3 meals away from. So it was a quote by Vladimir Lenin. Every society is 3 meals away from chaos. Is that it? Or is it 9 meals? 9 meals from anarchy. Yeah, so 3 meals or 9 meals, but you know, essentially if people aren't getting food and they have kids and stuff, and then suddenly they're like 2-3 days without food, then people are gonna just lose their shit. People are gonna lose their shit, and everything as you know it would cease to exist. You know, the system that's in place would just fall apart. So the fact that they're mentioning that, you know, farmers and ranchers are going to get incentives to reduce methane emissions, that methane emissions just pretty much, you know, cows sitting around and farting, that all goes up in the air, and then that, you know, contains, it stops, it doesn't stop, it creates holes in the atmosphere, and then I think that allows the earth to become more and more warmer. So whatever safety bubble of gases that we have protecting the earth from the sun's harmful rays, that shield eventually falls apart because of methane emissions and carbon dioxide emissions, all that good stuff, you know. So it's cool to see that they're actually acknowledging that, because if I felt like it was so taboo to talk about farmers before. So here they talk about this. Okay, so they say an extension of the, so farmers and ranchers reduce methane emissions, an extension of electric vehicle tax credit, and the launch of a national climate bank that would make investments in clean energy technologies and energy efficiency. The legislature will empower Medicare to negotiate prices with drug companies for the first time. This is ridiculous. I cannot believe that Medicare was not negotiating before. Like, what the hell? What the hell does that mean? That they just pay whatever price the drug companies wanted? Sounds ridiculous. Cutting prescription drug prices for seniors. The savings will help pay for a 3-year extension of Affordable Care Act subsidies, which would stave off an expected rise in insurance premiums that were set to go into effect in 2023. The package includes a cap on the price of insulin for seniors. Okay, bless. But Republicans successfully removed a 35 cap on insulin in the private market. I don't get it. Why would the Republicans remove a $35 cap on insulin in the private market? Like, insulin is like, it's just sad, because it's like people who have diabetes, diabetes type 1, it's just like, it's a terrible disease. It could shut your whole body down, right? And the drugs in the US, especially for insulin, it's ridiculous. Like, I don't understand why it's got, I've seen so many videos of people saying like, oh, you know, they're rationing their own pill. They're like taking half a pill, some days not taking a pill. They're waiting until they feel dizzy and then they take the other pill, because they can't afford to pay the prices that the insurance companies want them to pay, or the prices that they have to pay directly to the pharmaceutical companies, because they don't have insurance. You know, I take it for granted, but like, not everybody has insurance, right? In the US, like, yeah, you might have a great job that offers insurance, so then you're blessed, but then you can get laid off, or you can not have a job that doesn't have insurance, and suddenly you're on your own. You're paying top dollar for everything, which is kind of crazy. And I've seen stories or videos of people like dying because they were rationing their insulin and they weren't doing it properly, and they collapsed and they died. So I don't understand why insulin is so expensive for no reason. And the fact that the Republicans were removing a $35 cap on insulin in the private market is sad. Like, obviously shareholders of these companies don't want there to be a cap on insulin. So this threat that it was almost there, but it was removed, might get some companies to lower their prices a little bit so it doesn't become a hot topic on the next election. But it's just ridiculous. Like, I don't get it. It shouldn't have it be like this. So yeah, that's kind of weird. The bill also raises revenue through a new 15% minimum tax on large corps through accelerated depreciation. Although accelerated depreciation would be exempted, a key ask of centrists who extracted several tax changes from leadership before getting on board with the package. I want to see what tax changes she wanted. Cinema also successfully killed the provision to close the carried interest tax loophole that benefits a private equity and hedge fund managers. It was replaced with Cinema's report by a 1% excise tax on stock buybacks that would actually pull in more revenue than the carried interest provision would have. Okay. So excise tax on stock buybacks. So like companies like Apple's always involved in stock buybacks. You know, they're doing that for many quarters now. And so is Facebook or Meta. So I guess there's going to be a 1% tax on stock buybacks because the corporation's buying back the stocks. A lot of people say that allows a lot of rich people to unload their shares directly to the company without impacting the price, the market price of their shares. So let's say, you know, they have like a block of 10 million shares and they unload 1 million on the market, the price would take a dip. But if they unload 1 million straight to the corp that's willing to buy it back, then the price is still the same, and the corp is willing to do it. And the remaining 9 million shares, the price of those shares are protected because the stock market price is not impacted by the sudden increase of supply of shares. The legislation came together quickly, less than 2 weeks ago. Senator leader Chuck Schumer and Senator Joe Manchin, apparently this guy's been a thorn for the Democrats, announced a surprise deal on some of the party's major agenda items that many Democrats believe had no chance of becoming law this year. Democrats count the sprawling package as just the latest in an unusual streak of legislative wins for Congress typically mired in partisan gridlock. There's a $1 trillion infrastructure package last year, a bill to help a major semiconductor and science competitiveness package, a significant gun reform, a bill to help veterans exposed to burn pits, and a vote to admit Finland and Sweden into NATO amid a showdown with Russia. Mitch McConnell and the Republicans have been standing with big oil, standing with big pharma to protect their profits, and we have been for years trying to lower costs, said Senator Debbie Stabenow. Okay, this is a big moment here with these forces, she said, and the people are going to win. Senator Cory Booker, D&J, a progressive and one-time 2020 presidential rival to Biden, also noted Congress's recent strides. I don't know if there's been any Congress and president that has been as productive as we've seen this Congress, he said in an interview. This president keeps putting up historic bills that are meeting the urgencies of the American public. Nice. So this is cool. So major changes are health and tax, and the tax I would say is a 1% buyback and the minimum 15%. It's pretty interesting. I want to see what they're talking about here. Paving the way for Senate package. What did she put in though? Okay, cool. That's that. Republicans block cap on insulin costs for many Americans from Democratic deal. This I don't get. I mean, I'm glad I'm going to read this and then I guess I'll call it a day. I don't want to make this video too long. Republican senators on Sunday voted down a cap on the price of insulin in the private market. Democrats had tried to preserve the provision to cap insulin costs at $35 for private insurers, but that vote failed, 57 to 43. with 7 Republicans voting with them to keep the inflation cost cap in the bill, 3 short of what was needed. The move was expected following a decision by the Senate parliamentarian who determined earlier that the insulin provision was not compliant with the chamber's strict budget rules. Democrats need to comply with those rules to advance the legislation, called the Inflation Reduction Act, without any Republican votes. The legislation, however, still includes a $35 co-pay cap on the price of insulin for seniors. Following the vote, Senate Finance Committee Chair, blah, 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 Republicans have gone on the record in favor of expensive insulin. After years of talk about taking on insulin makers, Republicans have once again wilted in the face of heat from Big Pharma. Fortunately, the 35 insulin copay cap for insulin and Medicare remains in the bill, so seniors will get relief for high insulin costs. I will continue working to deliver low insulin costs, blah, blah, blah. All right, so that's cool. All right, so look, I'm sweating bullets right now. Holy. But I'm thinking about tomorrow. I'm actually quite excited. Tomorrow morning, 8 a.m., my dear Palantir is going to come out with its earnings release. We're going to see what it means. I'm going to break it down, and we'll go through it. Right now, I'm going to sign off. I think there's a lot going on in the States. I mean, one of the top trending articles on CNBC was that Hong Kong cuts its quarantine period to 3 days or something. But like, I don't know how many people are going to Hong Kong these days, especially the fact that Hong Kong has essentially forcefully been brought back into the fold of China, and China is, China don't play. So, I'm glad I visited Hong Kong before things got a lot more intense. But I don't know if I would ever be visiting Hong Kong in the future, just because if things go insane, or there's a COVID outbreak or something, China don't play. China shut down everything in a blink of an eye, and I don't want to get caught up in that. So I'm gonna let you all go. This is a 37-minute video, which I did not expect it to be this long, but whatever, we are where we are. I'm not gonna even edit this. I don't have time to edit it. I don't even care to edit it. I'm just gonna load it up. I'll see you on the other side. I'll see you tomorrow for those who wanna follow on Palantir. Peace.